This program is brought to you by
Lydia Female Contraceptive.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to another edition of the Today's Woman Show. Today I have a great show lined up for you once more. I have a literary giant in the studio with me. I'm not sure she'll agree with that, but that's how I'd like to refer to her. But before we start, I'd like to give you food for thought. And that's a quote from Virginia Woolf, and it says, "Lock up your libraries if you like, but there is no gate, no lock, no bolt that you can set upon the freedom of my mind." Now we're going to go for a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Today's Woman Show. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsor, and our sponsor is Lydia Female Contraceptives. With Lydia, you decide. Now, I did mention to you that I had a literary giant in the studio. Watch this clip.
Born into a fancy royal household, schooled in Wesley Girls, and an alumnus of the University of Ghana, Legon, Professor Ama Ata Edu is a literary legend in her own time. She fell in love with words as a young girl, and at the ripe old age of 24, she wrote and published her first book, The Dilemma of a Ghost. From 1964 till date, she hasn't slowed down in her exploits and continues to impact not only Ghanaian literature, but society at large with every word she writes.
I have known her in all kinds of contexts. As, first of all, a writer, not only an ordinary writer, a female writer in a male-dominated society like ours, in a patriarchal society like ours, somebody who has been able to cultivate a voice that is robust, strong enough to resonate across the world with her message, not only as a writer who entertains, who teaches through her writing, but also as somebody engaged in advocacy on behalf of vulnerable people, women, children, and also on governance issues. So her writing cross-cuts, or is a cross-disciplinary kind of writing. There is a sense of Pan-Africanism in her writing, not in a political Pan-Africanist sense, but a sense in which she tries to project her Africanness. So this is the kind of legacy Ama Ata Edu is going to leave for generations yet unborn, and has influenced even people like me who are pretending to be writing.
She has worked in the United States of America, where she held a fellowship in creative writing at the Stanford University. She also served as a research fellow at the Institute of African Studies, University of Ghana. She was also a lecturer in English at the University of Cape Coast, eventually rising to the position of professor. Professor Ama Ata Edu was also the Minister of Education for a brief 18-month stint during the PNDC era. To some, this is laudable indeed, but to young female authors, this is but the least of the ways she has impacted on their literary development.
She's a mother of African writing, or Ghanaian writing, I should say. She started it for women like me. She wrote plays, she wrote poetry, she wrote fiction in a time when I feel like not many people are writing in Ghana anyway, but then those who were mostly men. And Auntie Ama's writing to me is just so clear and simple and yet so layered. So she's one of the people I go to when I need to get out of a rut, and that happens a lot to me. Like sometimes you're just stuck on how to deal with a situation. So going back to her books is one of the things I've done. But then I think even unconsciously, I read Anoa when I was in school in JSS, and I haven't been back to Anoa in a long time. But the fact that this woman wrote this story when she was so young, to me, I think influenced me in some unconscious or subconscious way as well, that I could do it because somebody else had done it before me, and that person was Auntie Ama. Thank you so much for paving the way. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for telling us that we should just write. I've heard her say in interviews, just write. Don't wait for anyone, and don't listen to critics so early. Just get your words on paper. So thank you for all that advice, and thank you for still being there and still continuing to guide us, because she's just so powerful.
Professor Ama Ata-Edu has been writing for over 4 decades. Even though she is now in her 70s, it seems she has no intention of slowing down. She has been lauded, feted, and regularly rubbed shoulders with the world's most renowned authors. She is also fondly called Auntie by authors that she mentors, and many an aspiring writer looks up to her as a role model. If one was to attempt expressing the deep level of influence that Professor Edu has had on Ghanaian, African, and global literature, this would be a pleasant yet difficult task. Professor Ama Ata-Edu is currently in her 70s, but she still is invited to conduct creative writing classes, and she is currently working on some new material. She is truly Ghana's gift to African literature, and this morning on Today's Woman, we are proud to celebrate her achievements.
Viewers, I present to you Professor Ama Ata-Edu. You're welcome to the studio, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Audrey.
How do you feel about the short film you watched?
Very impressed with the amount of research you people have done and put into this program. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, but it's all to hail you. As I said today, we're celebrating here.
Thank you very much.
Now, you were born in an era where educating girls was not the norm. Now, how did you, or what do you think your parents saw in you that made you go to school?
Actually, there are 2 sides of my answer to your question. Mm-hmm. One is that, yes, in the village, when my father opened our school, mm-hmm. In fact, I was one of the first batch, because before us, my brothers and other young people were crossing the river or the stream and walking like at least a kilometer or so mm-hmm. to go to school mm-hmm. in the Ahinkro, okay. Of our traditional area. But our village, Chako, is virtually an island. So during the rainy season, it became almost impossible for anybody to get out.
To cross the stream.
Yeah, to cross. And by the time I was old enough to go to school, my father had decided that somehow this had to stop. So he campaigned the district education office at Sorpon so that they would open, they would establish a school in your village. Yeah. Now, I remember in response to your question that my father had said something like, maybe some of the members of, the people who were around during the inauguration of the school might want to ask him why there were girls,
yes.
In the first batch.
Yes, going.
And his answer was to quote what I subsequently came to recognize as the famous Dr. Aggrey remark about if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. and etc., etc. But apart from that, you see, when I wasn't terribly aware that, you know, girls' education was a problem then. Because, you know, I went to school in the village and then later...
With other girls?
And then I went to Wesley Girls
School.
So for me, you know, I am iffy about the notion that...
Education
when I was... Exactly, when I was... In fact, it was, I think, for those who had, you know, the access, it was taken a lot more for granted than today.
I think that in the South, they were very pro-education. It's probably up north that, I mean, we still have the issue today where girls are not as, it's not encouraged as much as boys are. They go to school, all right, but probably the numbers.
Yes, my bit of grief now at this stage is that in actual fact, we don't take enough, we don't take enough of the opportunities that our society gives us to do, you know.
Like what sort of opportunities, for example?
Well, I mean, in Ghana, what I'm trying, you know, if a girl is going to school today and she gets pregnant, for instance, I mean, it's so easy for her, with the encouragement of her relatives,
to continue.
No, in fact, they would try to stop her.
Yes, that's true.
Whereas nothing should stop her.
Yes.
And, you know, and then there is this whole business, which, by the way, was not around when we were at Wesley Girls and later at Legon. I mean, this whole notion that if you're a woman and you don't marry and you don't make children, then it's like you don't have a life.
Yes.
I think it is wrong.
I think that's
and so retrogressive. Because when we were in Legon, I mean, we were just there getting educated. I mean, there was no pressure from the society to get married. No. And if there was, the pressure was so light, some of us could just ignore, nicely ignore the pressure and just move on. But now it is so heavy, intense. I mean, to the extent that somebody's daughter who has actually become a medical officer, the society insists that if you don't call her Dr. Mrs. No. You know what I'm saying?
We like titles.
Yeah, we like titles. And then we use titles to oppress women. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when a chief is Dr. Nana, Professor, whatever, of course it's ridiculous. But it doesn't represent a form of oppression for him.
Yes.
But when you insist that a married woman, a married professional, should
Dr.
be
Mrs.
Dr. Mrs. Baba, that's oppressive.
I know. But let's go. Now, you seem to have identified your passion for writing very early on. I mean, you were 15 when you wrote your first piece.
No, actually, well, I was writing
before little things.
But at age 15, one of my teachers, you know the story, asked me what I wanted to be, and I said I wanted to be a poet.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did they take that response? Were they encouraging?
The moment I said that, she said, something like, "Oh, that's wonderful, but poetry doesn't feed anybody." But then later, the same
person,
gave me a gift of
a typewriter.
Yeah, you know the story of a typewriter, which was enormously encouraging.
What influenced you in your writings?
Well, as inspiration itself, really, without me trying to sound trite, is from life itself. It's living. It's being with people. It's getting involved in events and, you know, being present at happenings. Sometimes overhearing conversations, reading the Daily Graphic and other newspapers. Yeah, so the inspiration for writing is definitely from around us. Yes, you know, from wherever we are. I mean, you get inspired. What we see, the sea, for somebody who is coastal. Just looking at this, the sea is
and
so
your mind
much,
just wanders.
yes,
and it's filled
in
with
my
all
work
kinds of sweet things.
and people, you see, and you know, it's not nearly. Well, I mean, it's not always the most positive aspects of life, which can even inspire not only them, but you know, nasty things
It's
too.
experiences, unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah, so what I can just simply say is that we draw our inspiration from life itself.
Okay. From the journey of life.
Yes.
But I know that Afua Sutherland had a major influence on you.
Yes.
I mean, was she the only one?
Oh, well, I mean, I have been lucky, I think, in my life to meet people, some of whom were not even writers or educated in any formal sense of the word, including my mother and my father and my aunties, and you know, who have inspired me, who have encouraged me. And Professor J.H. Kwabena Nkatia.
Okay.
I mean, his influence is equally enormous, you know, on me. And I'd like to encourage, I mean, to articulate that and to say, hi, Prof, thank you very much. You know, and as a student in Legon, there were 4 big people who saw to it that I became a junior research fellow at the Institute of African Studies.
Okay.
Afua Sutherland herself, J.H. Kwabena Nkatia, Kono Cruz O'Brien,
Okay. That's a name.
Thomas Hodgkin.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, Kono Cruz, you know, who was then the Vice Chancellor. Thomas Hodgkin was then the, I think, Director of the Institute of African Studies.
Okay.
J.H. Kwabena
Okay,
Nkatia
yeah.
was a senior lecturer. And if I
As
said
was
that,
Afua-
you
as was
see,
Afua
so,
Sutherland.
you know, with all these people around, you know, and wanting to promote me, prop me up, I couldn't but develop.
Succeed.
I was lucky.
You were lucky. You were indeed very lucky,
Yes.
because as we watched earlier on the film, Dr. J did mention, Mauli did mention that, you know,
Look, yeah.
how you were able to survive in I would say an industry which was very male dominated.
Yeah.
That's what brings me to my next question. It says your work lays a lot of emphasis on the African woman.
I am one.
And a beautiful specimen of it, you know. But then somebody might say, are you feminist?
I am feminist.
Oh wow, she says so strongly.
Yes.
You are. Why do you call yourself feminist?
Because, you know, feminism is a viewpoint, an orientation that insists that women, as well, you know, women too, like men, should have the best that their society
in jobs,
exactly for their
everything.
For everything. I mean that we
Especially
too,
in jobs.
we are
Equality,
people.
yes.
We too, we are human.
So it's fighting for sexual equality, and a woman who does that.
I don't even like the
sexual gender equality.
Gender equality for our humanity.
Yes.
To be recognized that we, you know, what did Chairman Mao say? That women hold up half the sky, and if we do, then what is all this business about? You are a woman, so you shouldn't do this. You are a woman, so you shouldn't say that. you are a woman, so you shouldn't go there.
Is
Yeah,
a true
I mean,
woman.
everything that should be, you know, a further glory to the further glory of womanhood. They use it. Society use it to crucify,
Against
to
us.
hang us.
Against
What is
us.
this? I mean, we make babies. Look around you. What I'm saying is, hello. So I mean,
I love this
instead of you know, literally valuing us for that extra duty
Which we bear.
have
Yes.
for society.
Yes.
Getting pregnant,
Yes.
having menstruation,
Yes.
making babies. Now you are a woman. So, in fact, when I was a kid, you know, women were not even allowed to cross the
stream alone.
streets, not alone. When they menstruated, can you
Wow.
imagine? And what is menstruation but preparing a woman to make babies?
But now, do you think that the West education and the West have helped emancipate the African woman?
Help emancipate, yes. In the sense that, well, it has, you know, Western education has definitely helped. We shall here not go into the content of the education, which we have a lot of problems with, and which we think that definitely after independence, African government should have taken the whole education thing in hand and fashioned it, you know,
with our culture.
Yeah, with our culture, and to help us be self-reliant, self-confident.
Confidence, I was going to say, yes.
Self-confident, you know, because what we are lacking on this continent, I'm sorry, from the from bottom to
top.
Is self-confidence. You know, the confidence to tell the world, we too,
I am black and proud.
Yes, we too,
Ghanaian,
we are
yes.
human.
Yes.
We too, we are people.
Yes.
So if you want our minerals, then bam, bam, bam. This
Yes.
is what we do. We don't give our harbors. You know, first of all, we don't sign all these anti-Ghana mineral agreements and then hand over our harbors to them too. You know, I'm sorry.
That's the point. You're
Yeah.
very passionate about that.
I am very passionate about this because look at us in Ghana right now.
With Chinese taking away all our gold
so
and things.
completely
Yes.
broke as a nation. And yet we shouldn't be. Why do we have a rich land and then a poor life?
We're toiling for nothing, but we have to go for a commercial break. I know that you're very passionate, and we're going to talk some more about that
I'm
when we
sorry.
come back. Oh, no.
I should. You
will stay with us. Welcome back to today's Women's Show. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsor, Lydia Female Contraceptives with Lydia. You decide. Don't forget, you can always send us a comment on our Facebook page, Today's Woman on TV3, or follow us on Twitter, hashtag Today's Woman on TV3. Now, I want to read a little excerpt from one of your poems, and it says, from all around the third world, you hear the same story. Rulers asleep to all things at all times, conscious only of riches, which they gather in a coma intravenously. That's so beautiful, you know. And it just says, you wrote this, I think, somewhere back in the 80s. And I asked myself, so has the situation of our leaders changed? I mean, we're talking about, it's still the same.
It's worse. I'm sorry.
So don't you think that it's not about governments, but it's more about people?
Let me quote you from a book. Sonia Sanchez.
Okay.
You know, she did a series of really wonderful children's stories.
Okay.
And one of them, either the title or the story itself, is summed up, but in this way, that a people without a leader is like a lion without a herd. I've never forgotten it. You see, you can turn it any way we can turn it any way we like. But you see, a lion, of course, symbolizes strength, energy, and so on, and everything that is powerful in the animal kingdom. But then, if the lion doesn't have a head, or if the head is rotten, or in some way damaged, then how strong are the people? I mean, how can our leaders leave Africa and go to China or somewhere in Europe or the US, anywhere, and beg for financial help or any resources, whether they are in material or fiscal or whatever, when we have so much that they want?
That's why they give it to us in exchange of coming to take whatever all we have.
If people want what we have got, then the least we can do is to sell what we've got at a premium that would allow us in future not to go begging. We have to take stock and recognize that all these resources we've got are ours to exploit for our benefit as a people. Nobody else. Not some white man, not some Chinese, not, And so what I'm saying, even before we discovered, oil was discovered in this country, I was somewhere in Europe, Sweden, and we were chatting. And I don't even know how the poverty of African countries came about, but it did. And one of my colleagues looked at me and said, "Oh, Amata, but you are Ghanaian. You have, your country is Ghana, and you have so much gold, and you have so much this." And he said, if Sweden, if as a Swedish, he could tell me without any doubt that if they had all those resources, Ghana's problems, our problems
would be solved
in 1 year. He said that. Now, my point is, so what's wrong with us? That with these things available, we are in this kind of shape.
I don't think that as individuals, we even look at the fact that we are sitting on so much riches, wealth. I don't think that we think of it in that sense.
No, because nothing in our lives makes us think we are.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to watch a short film on a few people who have read your books and what impact it has had on them.
I know Amata Edu is a writer. I've read a couple of her plays, one for class and one leisurely, yes.
Yes, I have read books from Amata Edu, and I love it very, very much.
And then they're really interesting, especially The Dilemma of a Ghost. I love the way the story and then the whole drama went about, and it's really fun to read.
Amata Edu, I know she's a poet. Yeah, I know she's a poet, and I read her poems when I was in JSS. I can't remember the title of the poem, but I really enjoyed what she wrote.
And she has help some of us, those who read her books, to know some old stories that happened and why they happened, and then the values of our culture as well. So I think that it is good, and others should be encouraged to read it as well.
I think she is one of the few people who are trying to help Ghana go forward when it comes to literature writing. And she's really doing well, because for a woman to be that famous is very hard, and I think she has done very well to get to that stage.
Ama Taidu's reputation, spans across the world. She's a renowned writer. I think reading her books, I felt that her perspective was a lot more genuine, because it was coming from an African, an African telling African stories, and her stories are usually socially relevant. So, it's refreshing to read them, but also educative.
And then it was fun as students coming together to read a book by her, and then have the drama and then the fun bit. It's interesting. She's actually put impact in students, especially to be reading her books and everything.
Now, which
Very much.
I really love your humility. Out of all your writings, which is your favorite?
I don't answer that question.
That means you've been asked it many times.
Many times. And I always quote my sister Buchi Emecheta, the famous Nigerian writer.
Yes.
Anytime she's asked this question, she used to say, "But how can you ask me this question? They are like my children. I don't have favorites." And even if I had, I wouldn't
tell you. Oh, no. We have a colleague and another literary giant on the telephone, which is a surprise for you. We have Professor Atukwe Okai on the line. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning.
Oh, and thank you so much for your time this morning.
Oh, no problem.
Now, we have a colleague of yours. I'm sure she's also a dear friend, Professor Ama Taidu, in the studio with us.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely.
And we just wanted you to contribute a little. I mean, we were speaking earlier that she probably was one of the few female writers in her era, amongst you men. How do you think she fared? How do you think she coped?
Personally, I've always been fascinated by the fact that a young student should be not only so gifted, but also enterprising and courageous to pen a play and to push and handle ideas, questioning ideas in her work. And this, as you are pointing out, is being done by a woman. Well, she has coped because she, as a person, is very, as evidenced by her life so far, she's a tough woman. She has a strong spirit. She believes in herself, and she has passionate convictions about what our people need to address for us to succeed in coming up as people deserving of respect and having a fine future. She is a major woman that not only in Ghana, but in Africa, and therefore the world. Madam Ama Taidu has, through her works, had an impact on the many, many young people coming up in Ghana through many years, because her works talk about our society, and they do this in very moving, interesting, engaging ways. This is what I think about her, and I've always been proud of her.
Prof, she has.
Each time I meet her, I harangue her with about her status.
She personally has words to say to you, I'm sure. She probably wants to thank you.
Yes.
She wants to thank you herself.
Thank you very much for your very kind words. You know, I value your opinion of, you know, what you think about me and what you think about my work. And as a colleague, a brother, a friend. So thank you very, very much for yes, uncle.
Never stop being modest.
Oh,
you see,
I
picked
I
on
will
that.
advise the district assembly to legislate against it.
You are very kind. You are very kind.
We love you. We love you. We love you.
Thank you,
Prof. Thank you very much. Yes, go on, please.
I tell you this while you are alive, please.
Well,
yes.
Well, then maybe I should hang around. I hope I'll hang around for a little while yet. I hope we'll hang around.
50 more years will be fine.
Oh, I love that. 50 more years will be fine.
50. well, thank you. That's hoping for a lot, but still, thanks a lot.
You.
Oh, you are done.
Well, Prof, she said it for herself. What I wanted to say to you. Thank you so much for your contribution to the show, and we wish you well. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
But you know, he's
been very kind.
A few things he said about you, which I've only picked up in the last few minutes I've been talking about. One of them is your strength and courage. Another one is your humility. And don't say anything because we have to go for a commercial break.
I won't say anything.
Viewers,
thank you.
Please stay with us. Welcome back to the Today's Women Show. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsor, Lydia Female Contraceptives with Lydia. You decide. Now, for those of you who joined us, we're almost through the show, but I've got a lovely Professor Ama Taidu sitting with me here.
Thank you.
We've spoken about your work, but you know, like we've said in the past, you're a woman, so everybody wants to hear how you juggled work, having a daughter, or having children for that matter, traveling, everything that went into teaching, being your life and making you who you are today. How do you juggle all those things?
Well, I think it's a myth that, you know, anybody can successfully or, you know, juggle these areas of our lives. No, it's hard. I mean, I don't want to pretend that it wasn't difficult. It was difficult. My daughter will tell you stories about, you know, like school activities which parents were
and you were missing,
and I was missing.
Well, she's on the phone, so I'm going to ask her.
Is she?
She's on the phone. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Your mother, you should see her holding her mouth. She's so surprised to have you on the phone. I just asked her a question about how she juggled writing, traveling, teaching, and as well being a mother to you. And she was just saying something about you. How was it? How was it growing up with a mother who just wanted to write?
Yes. Yes.
Tell the truth.
I think that I always tell. I think I told someone that for women writers especially, you want to go to you know, nurture your children to nurture your work.
Okay.
So I have always known my mother wanted. I have always known she wanted to write.
Okay.
I have always known she has to write. There's a difference between wanting to write and having to write.
Okay.
So when I was much younger, she had a bed in her study where I could go and sleep if I had a nightmare in the middle of the night because she would be writing.
Oh.
And so for me, her mothering me is very much also wrapped up in her writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever resented it. No, it was just a fact of her life that she was happiest when she wrote. So if you want her to be happy, you want to encourage her and give her the space to write. She's most unhappy when she's not writing.
Well, she just
and,
said.
You know, and that's just how she is. She can get depressed when she's not writing, and that you don't want.
Now
So
can I?
for me,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can I ask the question? You saw her
Sure.
writing. You saw her writing so much. Did you pick any of the talent?
Did I do what?
Did you pick up any of the talent?
Well,
That's not a fair question.
No, I consider myself more of a reader than a writer, but I think I picked up some. But I think what I picked up was how essential writing is to every aspect of living.
Okay.
In this society that we are in, yes. But she was born to write. That's all she's ever wanted to do.
Shall I say something?
She wants to say something, yes.
Yeah, you see, that's what she's always told herself. And I don't think it's fair to her, to say that I was born to write and therefore she's only a reader. She's laughing.
She's laughing because you talk about it all the time.
All the time. She's always saying, you are the right, if I say, but you should write this. She says, well, you are the writer. But it goes on all the time.
It goes on all
the time.
Bakina, I'm sure you're very proud of her.
Oh, enormously. And I think that it's not, I'm sure she's talked a lot about the challenges that being an African woman writer.
Yes.
And how difficult it is for African women writing.
Yes.
And both she and I, this is what we are very honest about, both she and I wish she would write more. So there are lots of books that Ama Tedu hasn't written that needed to have been written. But that's because she's a woman writer. She had to raise me. She had to, writing doesn't pay much, so she has to teach. Then she has to be this persona in Ghana. And all of that takes away from her writing.
Yeah.
So there is that. But we are, even what she has managed to produce, and even this morning she was like, oh, we need to spend more time together. And I'm like, no, you need to write. So that's all. Yeah, that's all. I think that most people who know my mother and are very supportive of her work, that's all we want her to do. All we want her to do is to write. That's all we want her to do.
But I'm happy.
That's all she has to do.
That's all she has to do.
That's all she has to do. Nothing else. Just write.
Well, let me just say this in passing. When she was a kid, she was so much into my writing that she thought that writing is the only work in the world. When somebody told her that he was a farmer, she would ask something like, so why aren't you working?
Wow.
Yes.
That's the only profession you knew that existed.
Exactly.
Yes. And in fact, what I also want to add is, as I have grown up as a woman myself, as a feminist, as an African woman, I think that it's the best thing she can do for me as a mother.
Wonderful.
It's the best thing. It's to write.
Wonderful.
That's the best thing she can do for me.
No pressure. No pressure. No pressure.
I think the two of you, I would love to be a fly on the wall when the two of you are together, there's a very gray line, or a very thin line between who's mother and who's daughter.
I know.
I think that there's a lot of candor between the two of you, a lot of warmth, which is very evident in this conversation you are having. But you're really blessed to have her, and I'm really honored to have her in the studio today.
We are all very blessed to have her. She needs to write more, so we can shower more blessings.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for your contribution to the show today.
And thank you for the interview.
Okay, then take care, my dear. Bye. Bye. Well, I've got goosebumps from that. You've got. It's obviously such a relationship, such a rapport between the two of you.
Yeah.
Whether she wasn't a difficult child at all to raise. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
I think you did it because out of passion. And the way your daughter described it, it's just you're just passionate. You just love to write.
I do. It's my work.
And it's everything. It's you. That is you.
Well, it's like you tell yourself that, oh, okay, that's me, a writer.
And that's for who you are. But we are proud of you. And we have a little something to give to you to commemorate your time here on the show. It's been a real honor. It's been a real pleasure having you here. I've heard about Professor Amata Edu all my life.
Yeah.
But I haven't had the opportunity of meeting her in person. So today I'm just going to go and say, guess who I had in the studio with me today?
Amata Edu.
That's it.
You know, as a writer, people know that I hope people will drop the professor bit.
Okay.
Because
so
I'm
we'll
a
just
writer.
Call you Amata Edu. And that's it.
Yes.
So this is yours.
Thank you very much, Audrey. I have really enjoyed being on your program.
It's been a pleasure having you
and thank
here.
you very much for having me.
It's been a pleasure having you. But I'm not going to let you off free because, yes, I have a tradition here. And at the end of the show, I give my viewers a quote. But today, you're going to read something for me as we end the show.
Okay.
So I have a little something for you.
Have you written it?
No, you are going to write. You are going to read something. I thought you had something you would read for me.
Oh, you mean like
something little for you to read.
How many minutes do I have?
Probably about a minute.
About a minute?
Yes.
Okay. I'll give you something for a minute.
Yes. Viewers, as she searches for her little thing to let us out, to see us through today's show, I'd like to thank the sponsors of the show, Lydia Female Contraceptives. With Lydia, you decide. And for you at home, I hope that Amata Edu story has been very inspiring. We'll see you next week, same time. Take care.
Yeah, this is a poem I wrote one day on my way to see my doctor and passing through Tetakwashi.
Yes.
Interchange. Yeah. Because of time constraint, I won't talk too much. And in any case, I hope the poem introduces itself.
Okay.
It's called "To a Silk Shirt in the Sun."
In the silk shirt. To a silk shirt in the sun.
In the sun at Tetakwashi Circle, Accra. It was one of those glazed over mornings with a brittle hardness and killer edge sharpness. Everything cracked, nothing opened. Not even the wonders of spatial travel consoled, assuming we could have traversed the rain and the mud, and is there an oven nearby? Sun's heat, the germs, the bugs, the viruses and worms, non-performing phones, powerless power, leaky roofs and sinking floors. As for our life, it turned out into a ball of hairy, spiky juju. The Sasabonsam that rolled ahead of us. No matter how fast we ran, I drowned, or nearly. Then I saw you, silk shirt, embroidered and elegantly tailored into a perfect, comfy fit. A reminder of easier places and softer times. I could not believe such boldness amidst the muck. Then I saw her too. As you ambled from the east and she from the west towards some definition defying space, eyes dancing, lips a quiver with joy that maybe does not name its source, I breathed and pinched myself, happy to be alive because you are.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
You are most
Thank you
welcome.
so much. So we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
And I hope that we'll get to see you here and we can talk some more one of these days.
Thank you.
All right then.
Thank you.
Okay, viewers.
This program was brought to you by
Lydia Female Contraceptive.